This video is about loops within loops. You already know about loops, so in some sense you already know about loops within loops. For example, here's a loop for k in range m, and as you know, if m is, for example, 4, then the loop runs 4 times. It does k is 0, and it does blah blah. With k is 1, it does whatever's in that loop, blah blah. With k is 2, it does whatever's in that loop, blah blah. And with k is 3, it does whatever's in that loop, blah blah. Now for loops within loops, here's an example. It has an exterior loop, an outer loop, that you can identify by that for statement there for j in range 2. And then the body of that for loop, inside that for loop, there's another for loop for k in range 4. So we have a loop within a loop. Sometimes we call them nested loops. Let's see how that loop within a loop executes. The first thing is that we hit that outer j loop, and as always, it says j goes in range 2, so j is going to go 2 times, and it's going to start as 0. So there it is, j is 0. We then enter the k loop, and k is going to go in range 4, so k will go 4 times, and we'll start at 0. So there it is, starting at 0, and we use j equals 0 and k equals 0 in that print statement to print whatever that expression evaluates to. We then continue the k loop. Now j is still 0, it hasn't changed, but k will go to 1. Again, we print whatever j equals 0 and k equals 1 evaluates to. Then j still being 0, k becomes 2, and then j still being 0, k becomes 3. At this point, we've done the 4 times through the k loop, and we've concluded the k loop, so we continue the j loop. We've gone through the j loop once so far with j being 0. Now j will become 1. We then re-enter the k loop. The k loop will start over again. It's going to go 4 times, just like before. It's going to start at 0, just like before, and we'll print whatever the expression evaluates to when j is 1 and k is 0. Then, again, j remains 1 while k changes to 1, j remains 1 while k changes to 2, and j remains 1 while k changes to 3. Pause the video at this point if you have any questions about that sequence of execution. It's important to understand that all that's going on is loops, and that it's just one loop happening inside another loop. Here's another example, and this one shows when the inner range is a function of the outer loop variable. So here, the outer loop there in red has a variable j, and that variable j is used for the range of the inner loop. So as j in the outer loop changes, the number of times the inner loop will run will change. In this example, I've also changed the outer loop to run 4 times instead of 2, just to give a better example. Let's trace through this as we did with the other one. We begin with the outer loop. J will go 4 times this time, and so it starts at 0 just as before. We enter the inner loop just as before. Now this time we've got for k in range 0, because j is 0. Since j is 0 and range 0 means go no times, that loop, that yellow loop, will simply not run when j is 0. Nothing will get printed at that point. That finishes the first time through the yellow loop. We return and continue the j loop. J now becomes 1, was 0, and we re-enter the inner loop, the yellow loop. K this time will be in range 1, so it'll go 1 time with k being 0. That finishes the 1 time of the yellow loop, so we exit it and continue to running the j loop. J was 1, it now becomes 2. Since j is 2, when we enter that yellow interior loop, k is going to run in range 2. It'll run 2 times, so k will be 0, and then k will be 1. Throughout all of this, whatever was printed was per j and k. So this time around, for example, j is 2, k is 1, and we printed 1 plus 1 raised to the 2 plus 2 power, which is 16. At this point, we've finished the 2 times for that yellow loop, so it's done. And we resume the outer red loop, the J loop. J at this point is 2, so it's gone 0, 1, 2. It's got one more time to go, so it becomes 3. We enter that inner loop, which is now going to go J times 3 times, so K will be 0. And the next time through, K will be 1. And the last time through, K will be 2. And that will conclude our loops. So this is another example, and in this case, the key idea is that the range of the inner loop depends on the loop variable of the outer loop, so that the inner loop goes a varying number of times as we go through the outer loop. So those are basically the 2 patterns you'll see within loops. Again, be sure that you can trace this and that you understand this trace completely before you continue trying to solve problems with loops within loops. That's about it for understanding how loops within loops work. It's a little different to figure out how to solve problems with them. That'll be the subject of another video.